All right, I'm going to open up the budget hearing.
We are in the enviable position to have the opportunity to republish our budget to garner extra funds that the district would receive due to at-risk. The state of Kansas, they adjusted the qualifying mark for at-risk funding, and then we had more people apply for it as well. The great thing about this is it's no additional millage to us whatsoever. It's free money. That just comes to us. It'll bring in an additional $111,790 if later in the board meeting the board approves this. Of course, I will be advocating or recommending that you do accept the new adjusted budget or republished budget. You know, we've had republished the general fund and then the at-risk in order to get those monies. So, any questions about that? And we're one of 170 districts who are doing this tonight.
All right, if there are no questions, I'll close the budget hearing. And I now need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan Ruda and Ryan Schreibogle. Moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan Schreibogle and Curtis. Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's move to recognitions.
No, not so much recognition as a thank you from me to the board and to the central office, the administrators, the directors, Randy in particular, for allowing me to be able to work from Topeka while I'm convalescing from my knee replacement. I don't know if I know I wrote to you guys about this. Randy set it up that we had an ongoing meet opportunity, and so people would just pop in and out. You know, I'd be on the screen there, and we had our meetings, you know, off and on. And as need be, we just, you know, phone call away, right, Robin? And so I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. It's nice to be back in the land of the Longhorns, and I've got another 3 weeks of physical therapy or physical torture, is what I think they call it. So it's a thank you.
All right, let's move to financials and Mike.
Okay, on page 1 of the warrants, kind of towards the front, American Implement, we paid for the new John Deere mower that we purchased, $12,244. And then on page 2, down at the bottom, Holcomb Recreation, we got the tax money from the county flow through, $209,605.07. On page 4, kind of in the middle, Nevco Sports LLC, the new football and track sign, $18,913.30. So the warrants for this month, they're on page 6, $524,103.48 for this month. On page 9, our revenue expense balances, we're looking good. We're still waiting on the rest of our revenue from the state, which is supposed to be coming later this month, so we can finish out our budget for the year. And then page 11, our budget fund expense summary. We're looking pretty good there, and looking good to be able to close out. And then we have the transfers and the high school and middle school reports after that. So if you have any questions.
If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financials at $524,103.48.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan Schreibogle and Curtis. Been moved and seconded to approve the financials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, no public patron concerns. Administrative reports, Dr. Myers.
Got a couple, 3, 4 things to talk to you about. I don't know if you recall or not, but the ESSER 3 monies, they have to be out the door by September 30th of 2024. And as we've gotten closer and closer to that deadline, you know, we've continued to work, see, well, what kind of monies do we have left over, right? And so we had plenty of money sitting there for curriculum work. So we reworked it and submitted the application. And, you know, according to Mike, we looked online, and it was at the tribunal last Friday. They call it the task force, I call it the tribunal. It got approved through the tribunal. So ostensibly, it will be going to the State Board of Education for final approval next week, final approval. And so then that provides us the opportunities to spend the monies as we originally had it. We previously had been approved for people, and then the bonus that we'd done previously. And now the curriculum work. The reason this is really important is because we're set to do the math curriculum adoption this next year. And it's second only to the ELA adoption we did, which was over 200,000, which we did a year ago. So we were estimating, 180, 185, somewhere in there. And so this money, this one-time money, will pay for that, and then plus some. The really great thing about it is it will then allows us to put monies into our coffers from our monies that we generate. And so the next time we have a big adoption, another 4 or 5 years from now, it just will be easy. We'll just have the cash sitting there. So it's a really good use of the money. In addition to that, other curricular areas or resources that we use all got approved as well. So I'm holding my breath on that, Randy. And so items that we might not have been able to use in the future, we now will be able to pay for. So that's good news. We'll lift to the final approval next week. I wanted to mention to you over at WES, we ended up replacing a series of heater coils. Train did this for us. They're part of the purchasing co-op, so there's no need to bid it. I mean, we can get the best deal anyway. But it came in at right about $29,000. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. You don't see it in the warrants yet. It'll be coming. But it's all legal to whether we wanted to have heat or not in our various classrooms. So now that's a done deal. It just, unfortunately, like 9 or 10 of them all shot craps simultaneously. I guess we put them in all about the same time, and so they all went belly up about at the same time. Something else to talk about, the first year at the end of having our school resource officer and our social worker, and very pleased by the work we've seen with them as far as what they've done with our kids. End of the day, they've freed up the time for our principals to continue working even more so with the teachers as far as instructional leaders go. And so that's the end goal there, but also they also did a great job of just working with kids in trauma. The SRO has just done a fabulous job, whether it's K through 12, getting to know the kids, and the whole idea that the police are our friends. And so that's been a positive. I'll have hard data for you in a letter coming up to you this next couple of weeks. Those are ESSER funded positions. If you will recall, the SRO, we're investing money in it for 2 years, and the city of Holcomb takes it on for another 2 years. So we've got the SRO for 3 more years coming down the pike. Flood project is finally finished. We ended up with ballpark numbers. Trent probably has the exact dollars, but somewhere in the tune of $123,000 worth of coverage from EMC. So that's a good thing. So although Sean and Trent are here to poke us in the eye here in a moment, we did get coverage, which is a good thing. So that's my report. President Jones.
All right, thank you. You covering buildings?
Yes, I will. You have information before you. There's really nothing to add to it, outside of the fact that I will say upon Tom's departure, I've been very pleased. Garrett has stepped up and has served in the transitionary role, and we're not just not missing a beat, we're gaining ground, we're moving forward. Also, Randy has been instrumental in making sure that, because of 2 of the programs that Tom had access to were like the HVAC system is all computerized. And so Randy's been trained in that. Whomever we bring on to be the next director of grounds will get that duty as well. And also the FOB program. We have how many FOBs we've had out off and on. So it's just an important piece to, lock down our materials. So that's it for the facilities.
All right, Garrett, grounds?
Nothing more on the grounds.
Okay. Transportation?
Sam is on vacation, and he's got nothing else.
Okay.
Besides the fact that I do want to point out the camera systems. For some odd reason, we had a couple buildings or 3 buses without camera systems. I wish we were in the situation where we don't need cameras on buses, but that's just not in the society in which we live now. It just makes everything smoother and easier to say, well, let's just pull up the tape. And so we're able to pull up the tape, and well, I'll be darned. The same young man who might get in trouble in the lunchroom and in the classroom and the playground also has problems on the bus. I'll be darned. So now it's not just word of mouth; it's visual empirical evidence. So getting that done this summer.
Okay. Food service, Monica. Nothing further. Okay. Mr. Ackerman, technology? Nothing further. All right, we'll move to our principals and Mrs. Albright.
We finished up summer school at the elementary last Friday. At Wiley, we had 47 students attend, and all but a couple were able to attend the whole time, so that was great. Our teachers worked on the basic skills needed for those students to move to the next grade level in reading, writing, and math. We had an additional writing teacher this year, which is something that we have not done at Wiley in the past, so that was beneficial for the students to get those writing skills worked on as well. 40 of the 47 students showed some type of growth, whether that was in math or the reading skills from the pre and post test. So we felt like it was pretty beneficial. I also wanted to give a shout out to the summer custodial staff. They've been doing a really great job, and they already have the north wing of Wiley all completed and are pretty close to finishing everything in the south end now that summer school is over. So they're doing awesome.
Thank you. Mrs. Tyne.
I also just wanted to discuss summer school and share that we had 23 of our 26 students with consistent attendance that came to summer school, pretty much every day, maybe missed a day or two. They were tested, pre and post tested in 4 areas. All 23 of those showed growth. I guess 22 showed growth. The 23rd was gone on the day that we did the post testing, so we weren't able to check that out. The kids were able to do some fun things while they were working on their math and their reading skills. I know 3rd grade did some rockets, and I put that in my board report, but I also saw ice cream being made in 4th grade and tie-dye shirts in 5th grade. They were able to go on some fun learning outings, and so I think it was a successful experience for those students. Also, I just wanted to give a shout out to Garrett. We have been working together on the Longhorn Corral, just kind of trying to get the final pieces of that put together. And so we're almost there, and he has some really great ideas about, I have some of those tarps, or the shade tarps, and it's kind of a unique area, and so we talked about not really wanting posts in the middle of that area to hang those, and so he has a great idea for that, so we'll see how that turns out once we get to working on that, but really excited about that. The Girl Scout troop, the local Girl Scout troop, donated a table for that area, so we'll have at least one area for kids to sit. I did apply for a grant this year. It did not get it, but to put a couple of other just seating areas there. We have some things that they can sit down on the turf or, whatever. But just if they're working, sometimes it's nice for them to have something to sit their work on or their clipboards on. So really excited about getting that going and hopefully using that a lot this year.
And if you'll recall, the funding behind this is the classroom at-risk, nope, that's not what they're called, fail forward grants that we've offered the last several years to teachers. And the vision of 3rd grade was to create this outdoor learning space. And of course, with Randy's leadership, ultimately it's been in process for
Long
2
time.
years. Now we're getting there. And so they've got a water reclamation program. I mean, it's going to be cool. And basically, it's an outdoor learning space. If you don't know what we're talking about, just go down Wiley. It's a cutout between the new band choir room and the 3rd grade hall. And of course, our challenge is we don't want it to become tumbleweed haven. But that's, working on it, and it's all leveled out now.
Yep.
Getting ready.
And the tub is actually full of water. I told Garrett that's usually not really much of an issue, but it has been an issue because we haven't had anywhere to send the water, so we don't have any plants there yet, but that'll be part of it. some little planters that we have. We'll put some plants in there, and there's a hose in order to use that water to water those plants. So it'll be good. And he has some ideas for that too, to help with like the making sure it doesn't get moldy or whatever, like a bubbler. I said, well, as long as it shuts off when it's dry, because that's usually more of the issue.
And also, this is another spot that shows our community partnership with Garden City Community College. The turf in there came to us from Garden City's former football field. So just trying to, the greater educational community supporting the Longhorns is what it's about.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Helton.
One thing I did not put in my report, something working on for August is professional training development for our sub-teachers and for our paraeducators. This past January, we piloted something like that with our subs. We had about 14 show up, 14 of our district subs, talked through things like classroom management, what are our crisis procedures, things like that. Talking with teachers this spring, they said, why not offer that also for our paraeducators too? So making that, it's optional to go to. It'd be on a teacher work day, since I can't call any meetings or anything with teachers, might as well work with the classified. So give them a chance to come in, learn about mandatory reporting laws. Those apply to them. Sometimes maybe we don't always make sure they're fully aware of what those entail. So that, going through crisis procedures, talking classroom management, basic expectations that we would have in the classroom, going through some of those protocols. So that's something looking forward to doing in August. Make sure we have PD for everyone. And as always, thank you again for another a year of your support. I feel we had a lot of great things happen. Really excited about MTSS moving into next year with middle school and high school. I think that's going to make a profound impact on learning. So I thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
And I will add, you guys, board, you don't know about this, but there's a thing, I call it Scott Bingo, different things that I say at different times. One of them is I'll say, well, what do they call you, Jerry? Must be a good idea, Jerry, right? Well, often for Tyler, it's well, that's an idea, Tyler. But this was his brainchild, and he did this last year, the professional learning for the subs, and it was well received by the subs themselves, because they felt like really more part of us than just they come to show up and get paid. They're part of the Longhorns. And then also, if you guys recall, the board chose to provide them with that incentive bonus as well. So, and it is an arms race between the various districts with keeping the people, coming to work here for a variety of reasons. So good on Tyler on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, Mr. Johnson.
I had to look back to make sure, and I had my dates right. And the last time that we had a board meeting, seems like it's been forever ago. But we only had like 3 days of school left after the board meeting. So between now and then, there hasn't been a whole lot happening, which is probably a good thing. Other than, I would echo from what the elementaries have said. Our custodians have gotten after it. It's been fun to see. They've gotten in and just really done a really good job. If you haven't seen the gym, there's no bleachers in the gym, so it's that's kind of cool to see in what it looks like without any kind of the bleachers in there. So some of the projects are starting to go. The kids have been back in the buildings for summer weights, so that's the fun part for me, is to be able to see them again and talk to them and see how summer's going with them. We had a really successful state track meet to finish up the year. All of our other softball and baseball were one game away from, going to the state championships on both of them. So both of those teams really excelled as well to end the year out. And we had a golfer barely miss out on making it to state. And all of our teams are really young. We're bringing back a lot of young kids for the next year. So that's fun to see as well. Finishing up school, Mr. Helton and I have been working together. I've been joining Mr. Helton's conversations, I should say it that way, working with MTSS. He's done a really good job of contacting vendors for our Tier 2, Tier 3 curriculum that we're looking at, and we're really excited about starting the year off in the right way with MTSS. It's something we've been working on for a year. We have a schedule in place. We're going to mirror a little bit of what the elementary is doing as far as a walk-to intervention, and I do think that this is going to have some really big implications for us, where we can meet the students where their needs are at as far as reading. And that seems to be a big time issue that across the state is what you're seeing. And I would say is some of the stuff we're doing is we're ahead of the game. When we go to the USA conference that some of the principals we were able to go to, you start to hear buzzwords that people talking about when you go to conferences, and the State Department saying is, yeah, this is coming down. You're going to be doing this. You have to have an MTSS, standards-based grading's coming, all this kind of different stuff. And so it's kind of here to say, it's kind of cool for us to hear some of that stuff being said, and we're kind of already ahead of it. And people are asking us to say, hey, I hear you're doing standards-based grading. Like, what does that look like? Because we're going to need to do that in the coming years. So thanks for supporting our kind of initiatives that we're putting out there right now.
And just a little further explanation on MTSS, because we throw around initials and acronyms all the time. It stands for multi-tiered system of support. Basically, individualize the academic needs of each kid. All kids who walk in the classroom are tier 1. And then through a variety of assessments and testing opportunities, we might identify someone as tier 2. And then we initiate approaches to them with Jerry's referencing, Tyler's researching some curricular activities for us to use. And then we want to get them all back down to tier 1 or up, whichever way you want to look at it. But it doesn't always work. So some kids then identify themselves as going on to tier 3. So we intensify just a bit more. It individualizes a bit more. Ultimately, if that doesn't work, then that's when we get into the SIT process, which might lead to special education. But it's an individualization of the academic approach. This next year, elementaries have been doing MTSS for a long time, but they've, kicking the tires and said, this has been a good thing for us to be re-engaged in this. Once again, Tyler's and Jerry's initiative, like I've said it multiple times, water on a rock eventually wears it down. They came and said, we need this. We need to do this at the secondary level. I said, we're doing plenty of things. But eventually I said, okay, well, what's this look like? And so it's due to their vision on this thing, we're bringing it forward. And I've got to say, this last year's worth of professional learning has, in my opinion, been some of the most impactful in which I've been involved. And I see a real future, like Jerry said, and Tyler did too, a potential game changer. If we can get good at this, in this the IPOSs, individual plans of study, I will feel even more comfortable as the kids leave us, prepared for the next steps. So it's exciting stuff. So.
Good. Thank you. All right, let's move to unfinished business and property and casualty.
I think we should just skip that tonight.
Can we table?
All right, by law, every district has to have property and casualty insurance, and then also workman's comp. Prior to Scott, before Scott, the district has had a relationship with Keller Leopold, and then I don't know if you've always been with EMC. Yes, you're underwriter? Okay. And in the time that, I've been here, I've had the pleasure of working with Sean mainly, and now with Trent. They've represented us very well. And so tonight, they're here to talk us through the property and casualty insurance, and then also the work comp insurance. It'll be 2 separate motions, but I'm sure they'll present it all as one because it's been lumped together to mitigate the expenses, if you will. And I'll let Trent and Sean will explain why the increases are what they are. But I will tell you up front, yes, we are going to have a $40,000 increase overall, but we have received $400,000 worth of coverage this year. I'm most bothered by our work comp having gone up, and we were going to intensify our efforts on that to, because if we had 2 really good years, $2,000 worth of claims, $1,000 worth of claims, and $135,000 worth of claims. So we can impact that, to pull this back down. But so they'll present, I'm sure you'll present it all as one, but it'll need to be 2 motions, Matt.
Thank you guys for having us. I'm Trent Speck. This is Sean. Sean's coming from Wichita. So want to first thank you for the school year. Looking from the outside in, 2022-2023 school year was good for Holcomb academic and athletics-wise as I was following. But, I know you guys have the premium summary page in front of you, and I want to get to that. But I just want to talk about the insurance marketplace overall, just so you guys have the background, because I'm sure on your personal lines and farms and businesses, you guys have seen increases. So the best way to summarize it was 2 months ago, we had an all-employee meeting up in Salina, and we had 100+ of our employees all across Iron Insurance with us. So we represent different carriers being independent, EMC being one of them. But one of the carriers really spoke to kind of the crowd, even as I was talking to my coworkers, and they did a really great job of explaining why what we're in, as Jerry says, a buzzword, hard market. And a hard market is something that comes in waves, kind of like the stock market, up and down. And they said, well, you're in the soft market for 10 years, you're in the hard market for 4 years, kind of traditionally. So they finally explained what a hard market was. And, so they said, well, due to economic uncertainty, inflation, inflation's that buzzword, of course, another buzzword that you hear all the time. But those two things are really making the insurance marketplace really tough right now. But the last one I thought was the most interesting one, and that's what you call reinsurance. So a lot of these carriers go and buy reinsurance on top of what they're covering. So when the big rainy day comes, it goes to a level where EMC or a different carrier will pay, and then reinsurance is on top of that. So for example, Progressive had a $2 billion claims. The first $1 billion Progressive paid out of pocket. The next $1 billion came from reinsurance. So knowing that, we've had some really bad weather in the last 5-6 years in the marketplace. So, the deep Texas freeze and the wildfires in Colorado and California and hurricanes. And you're probably wondering, well, what does that have to do with Holcomb, Kansas? Well, it does impact us because the reinsurance availability has shrunk. So there's less markets to go to reinsurance. So what happens when there's less markets? Price goes up. What happens when price goes up? It comes back to the consumers. So that's where we're at right now on the marketplace overall. Holcomb is overall up 20%. We'll get to that in a minute. But, this is not, school systems is very property heavy, and property is just taking the biggest hit out of everything. That's the nature of the beast right now. So we're trying to mitigate that through some different options that we have. So that's the marketplace in general. As Scott alluded, Dr. Myers alluded, EMC has been friendly, when it comes to paying back. So, I thank Sean for passing this account over to me, and then it's been claim-free for a long time, and then this year we got hit with $470,000 of total claim expense. So $330,000, if you remember, was that chiller that hasn't showed up and is going to be showing up sometime in October, it sounds like. So we're still negotiating with EMC and trying to get a temporary chiller to come in, because obviously we need air conditioner in August and September and July, some for when the teachers get in there. So we're still negotiating. I talked to Gustavo last Friday, and I tried to get a hold of him today, but didn't get a chance. Didn't get him. So
Gustavo's the claims adjuster for EMC.
Excuse me. So we're still talking with that, and Dr. Myers is in communication with him also. So the other event was, of course, a freeze that came December 23rd. That was just kind of an anomaly. And that came out to actually $140,000 last looked at it. So it's, so over the last year, we've had $470,000 just on the property casualty insurance. That's not counting the work comp, which was an additional $120,000. But so if you don't mind looking at the premium summary, I'm just going to go through this. So as I alluded, we're in what you call a hard market, and that kind of takes us to the commercial property. EMC has they've been a little bit more aggressive on the property the last couple years, and that's just due to making sure that everything is up to value. So as I was talking to the underwriter at EMC and looking at the price and saying, hey, this is a big increase. What are we doing here? So we went down and went through all the buildings, and I talked to 2 project managers for construction companies. I said, hey, what's the cost of construction nowadays for a high school or for a middle school and an elementary school? And they came back and said, well, we're looking at $360 per square foot. So, for a 50,000 square foot building, you're looking at $18 million. So just doing the quick numbers. So we just want to make sure that if the rainy day comes, we want to make sure that our property is adequately valued. So last year, for example, we had a blanket coverage limit on the property of $79 million. This year we're at $92 million. So we've taken pretty much an 18% increase right there. Now the other increase or part of that is the rate. So EMC has taken a little bit of rate, and that kind of just overall, all the school districts have went up. I haven't seen one school district that stayed the same. And that also has to do with a little bit of claims experience, but I think just in general, EMC is just raising the rates just to be a little bit more competitive. So how does that impact us? They're just getting more in line with where they feel that they need to be to make a profit. Now, I do want to hit on two things when I talk about rate and claims experience. EMC is a dividend program. So last year we did receive $15,225 back, and the year before Holcomb did receive $9,000 back from dividends. So they're getting more comfortable with where they want to be on that line. So, but that's the property, like I said, is the majority of the increase. The other part is work comp. As Scott alluded to, the work comp went from a 0.75 mod to a 1.12. We've had 2 shock claims in the last year. So we want to be progressive on that and make sure that we have resources available to mitigate that. So we don't want to just stand on in the background. So anything that Scott needs or Mike needs on the resources, we do have a lot of availability and a lot of resources in-house. Now, obviously, also the carrier, EMC, does too. So a lot of resources available to help with slip, trips, and falls, to help with making sure that we're bending and lifting properly, especially in the summer when the custodians are moving a lot of desks and chairs and furniture. So stuff like that we want to be available for. But all the other lines are pretty much taking a little bit of an increase, kind of more in line with inflation. The commercial property, like I said, has went up the greatest. Something that we made available to Scott as we were talking with him and meeting with him is a deductible option. So last year we had a $10,000, $25,000 deductible option, $10,000 all peril, $25,000 wind hail. We asked for a different option, so we looked at $25,000 all peril and $50,000 wind hail. And this, by looking at this option, it saved us close to $26,000 off the total premium on the commercial property side. So that is something that we want to bring to your attention and bring as an alternative if you wanted to explore that. So did I miss anything, Sean, that you wanted to talk about? Or
No, I think you did a great job. I think you guys are well aware of what's going on in the marketplace today. And to be honest with you, you can go back to the fires in California with PG&E. That's when this really all began. And when that was what we would call a nuclear claim, when the liability was handed down that PG&E was responsible for that fire, that began a process with reinsurance carriers that just changed the game. Combine the last 3 years, his specific information about Progressive, that was specific to Hurricane Ian. And they had $2 billion worth of losses, $1 billion of it with the reinsurance. I'd like to tell you that this is going to be a hard market in the traditional fashion, that, for 4 years it's going to be hard. And we'll get back to a soft market, but unfortunately I don't think it is. We've had a recent carrier that has been on a tour of our offices over the last week that they are just not going to write any new business in Kansas when it comes to property. And it's our largest carrier that we work with. And we have $18 million placed with them, and they tell us that they're not going to write any new property. That's how bad the marketplace is at the moment, okay? And so I think as we've come here the last several years, we've brought you increases from EMC. But I think they're measured and marked increases for a reason. And they're there so that when things like this year happens, we don't have any issues, right? The total industry is running 104% combined expense ratio. So that's not even anywhere close to a break-even point. And that's way above it. But I will tell you that EMC, in terms of its financial position, is extremely strong, where they need to be. And I'm confident that even though they are taking the increases, they are doing it like they should. And hopefully we'll continue with more profitable years and be able to give you that dividend back.
So how long, I know on workers' comp mods,
each year stays in the mod calculation for, is it 3 or 4 years?
3 years.
3 years.
So let's say this year we get back to what we normally were, 1,000 or 2,000 in claims. Is our mod still gonna go up next year because of last year, or is it gonna start going back down?
The year that is on there now has, both claims have closed completely, right?
I think one claim is still open.
Shoulder?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Shoulder claims are bad claims because they tend to stay open a long time and they're expensive. If there's additional expenses, rehabilitation expenses with that could add to that claim, and yes, that mod could go up. Once that claim gets settled, and I'm assuming there needs to be a settlement discussion that needs to take place, once that settlement happens, that claim will close. Once those two claims are closed, then we won't add anything to it. If you have a good year this year, good year next year, following year it'll fall off.
Right, okay.
So,
President,
Yes.
could I ask all members to speak to the mic, please?
One thing I do want to hit on is we did do a deductible analysis. So what a deductible analysis is, so in the state of Kansas, it's a net reporting state. So if you have a $2,500 work comp claim and you have a $1,000 deductible, you only have to claim the $1,500. The $1,000 would be paid by USD 363. The $1,500 would be reported. Now, we did a deductible analysis to see if that would have helped Holcomb, and it really would have changed the mod to 1.07 or 1.08 with a $1,000 or $2,500 deductible. So right now, I don't think there's a need for a deductible. If we want to look at that in the near future, we're more than welcome to, but I don't think it would have, in these two instances, I don't think it would have prevented it from rising up to a 1.12. It still would have been a 1.08. So that's something our account manager does a really great job of. So
I'll mention one other thing too that we discussed with Dr. Myers, and we didn't go into great detail with it, but there is some potential for you with certain positions that you may have, janitorial, transportation, food service, whereby pre-employment or post-offer physical examinations, fit testing can be done. And I bring this up because for shoulders, knees, and backs, there could already be an injury from somebody that you hire, okay? These post-offer fitment tests can identify a potential issue that already exists, a deficiency. And once you identify that deficiency, if a claim happens with that individual, you're not on the hook for the whole 100% of deficiency, right? Maybe they were already 30% deficiency in the right shoulder. They have an injury in the right shoulder. We've got another 20% deficiency for a total of 50. If we didn't have the fitment testing, if we didn't go through that process, then you're going to be on the hook for all 50% when it comes to settlement time. If we know about it, we can take that 30% that's already existing and go, you already had that when you got here. We're responsible for the 20. So it's just something to think about as you guys think about work comp and as you work with Trent and our team, where are there opportunities for you to make a difference? And that is one of them. And we have lots of clients that we work with that use fitment testing, post-offer employment. And that's something that we can work with you on if that becomes an issue, or if it's something that you want to mitigate ahead of time. We can work with you. So something we mentioned, I wanted to bring it up here tonight as well.
And I will say there are minimally 3 variables in this that work. In a previous district when I inherited the spot, we were at a 4. Our mod was at a 4. And simply by saying you can't just go straight to the emergency room, you have to go to our dedicated person. And here's some professional learning on how to be safe. We got it down to a 1. Now, we never got to the fitment aspect of it, but we're open to looking at everything, because this is money out the window. And people get hurt. Those, the 2 injuries that we're discussing here, those are lightning in a bottle. I mean, nobody expects that to occur, absolutely. But it does happen. And so the best thing we can do is just educate, make sure everybody goes to the dedicated spot, which we've had well in place well before my time here. They have to go to the special, our signified place for work comp claims. And then we might look at that other aspect of it, so.
Just
I
put
guess
warning
the-
labels everywhere. Every wall has one.
I guess the question I have, just kind of separate from this, looking in the notes where the decision was made on no cyber coverage, in kind of light of all the exposure that exists with that, is that still the right decision to not have cyber coverage?
Randy, if you come in, please. The thoughts on not having cyber coverage?
I'm sorry.
Thoughts on not having cyber coverage through EMC?
I made some adjustments to the district networks that eliminate our exposure to cyber attacks. So I feel like the district is better encapsulated. We're not as wide open to that. So I just don't feel like our exposure probably warrants the coverage
Okay.
right now. So. Are you going to multi-identification? More of a change of the way set up my network. So if we do have somebody who is open to a cyber attack on a device, it's usually isolated to that device. It's not going to be spread throughout the network. So our cost, our exposure would be less.
I know we've been digging into this issue for 4 years now, because when the first time, when the ransomware first came through, and, you know, and Randy I trust. So.
Yeah. But what after, what about after Randy?
He's not going anywhere.
Good, good.
Never.
It's job security.
Lock him in the office. Just bring him food.
So what you have before you, you have the recommendations from, you know, our friends from Iron, I'm sorry. And I will tell you, you know, Trent was being kind there. He said EMC has been friendly. Maybe. But Trent and Sean have worked hard and directly and have had robust conversations. And I've been involved with those as well. So I'll say they've, air quotes, EMC has been friendly. So I recommend support of the, let's do it in this order, property and casualty insurance for the premium of $207,617 as presented.
Do we have the number if we don't increase the deductible? Because just,
Yeah, it's
to the left right there, Ryan, on the renewal. So it has expiring, renewal, and then alternative. So the alternative is down below at $25.51.
and my thinking on that, Ryan, is we've had 2 claims in my 5 years we've turned in, 2. You know, everything else we've said, it's not worth it.
that's what I was thinking, just 2 claims is gonna
So,
take up that
But if we
deductible.
had, let's just play devil's advocate, if we had 2 separate wind hail events
Yeah.
in the next coming year, it would end up costing us $100,000 in deductibles, is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, if the claim exceeded that.
ifs and buts, yeah. Why we have insurance, right?
We don't ever have wind out here.
Or hail.
Yeah.
Never had rain previously, I don't know.
It's your pleasure.
I'd make the motion to follow the recommendation presented for the amount of $207,617.
Second.
Ryan, Ruda, and Curtis. Been moved and seconded to approve the bid of $207,617 from Keller Lee, or Iron and EMC for property and casualty insurance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
And then the second motion, piece of business for this realm is the work comp insurance. And I recommend the suggestion from our friends from Iron at $49,511 for work comp to go through EMC.
White on the, if I'm reading that chart right there on the renewal, the work comp renewal is at 48,631.
So EMC came back, and I'm sorry I didn't hit on this on the property casualty lines. EMC came back and said, hey, we're going to give you some credits if you put the work comp piece with us. So in that alternative and on the renewal, they're giving a little bit of credit right there. 2 or 3% is what they said. So we felt that much getting the credit was worth at least offering the work comp renewal with EMC. So even though it's $900 more on the work comp side, they're giving you a better pricing on the property casualty lines.
I'll recommend we go with the work comp with EMC for the 48,631.
No, it's 49.
49,511. Sorry.
That's right.
Second.
Ryan Shrivogel and Curtis. Moved and seconded to go with Iron and EMC for workman's comp at $49,511. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're done with you.
Thank you, fellas.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys again.
Let's see what happens next year.
Thanks, guys. All right, let's move to capital projects update.
Garrett, if you come forward, please. As I alluded to earlier, since Tom's departure, Garrett's kind of stepped up even before my asking him to do so, in the transition work from Tom, moving forward, because we had all these projects in place. So I'll just kind of go through them, tell you what we're sitting at. Garrett, fill in if you'd like to here and there. Any questions, we can answer for you. We already talked about the bleacher replacement. If you've not been into the gym, go see it. It's a big old cavernous room. It's pretty cool looking. It's the three-phase, I think is what's called, is ready to roll. So we're set for the redoing of the floors and then the installation of the bleachers coming all in July. So it works out. The chiller project, it made no sense in the end to purchase the chiller from 457 because even if we got it for $2,200, it was going to cost us $37,000 to move it here. Made no sense at all. So by negotiating with Trane, we're able to get it rented for 3 months for like $32,000, $33,000. So rather than owning something that we didn't know, we didn't know for sure that it was going to work, it was worth the $10,000 rolling of the dice to me. If we bought it for $2,200, $10,000 to get it here, hook it up, it doesn't work, let's move on to something else. But not for that price tag. It's smarter money just to rent it. As Trent and Sean alluded to, we are working with EMC to see if they will cover the cost of the rentals. Because as my point has been, we never would have gone and rented those on a Thursday just for fun, because the only reason it happened is because we had a claim. So I'm hoping that the coverage our out of pocket is not anywhere near what is projected. So that's all set. Talked to Mike Highland today. That's the rep from Trane. It's August 1. We're plugging it in. So you're going to have air conditioning, Jerry. Don't squander it. Use it properly. Gas lines to the portions of the high school. Got to looking at some gas lines, and this, Garrett can fill in more specificity than I can on this one. Bottom dollar, we're replacing an entire gas main and then the lines into the various portions of the high school because the pressure is frankly too high. And so if you want to fill in on that.
So going into the shop, there's no regulator going on there. We have over 5 pounds going into the shop building right now on there. It all started with just a gas leak. There's a dead spot of grass. We started looking at the pipes going in. They were pitted, losing the coating on there. And be safe, you can't have that much gas going in. They recommended us taking the gas line right there at the shop, going up and above like it is over at the chiller in that area over by the boiler room. So we're working on that. And then as we're going through that, we found out our line from the gas meter to the chiller was, the welds are pretty bad on the T. We got pitting, the green coating on there that protects it is falling off. So we're gonna be boring a new line from the gas meter to the chiller to replace that portion right there, and then have everything. Mesa Plumbing's gonna come in and get everything marked up on the roof for us.
So we're working with Midwest Gas on this project.
Midwest Energy.
USD 363 and Garden City Community College Zoom room installations. I think we're the beta testers on this, right? I thought we were.
First.
Yeah. Come to find out, they can't hang them on the walls. I guess the TVs are too heavy. So the cable's been run. I mean, we're rolling, but now they're going to put them on carts. They better be big old carts, is all I got to say. I mean, big old carts.
Bigger than TV?
72 inches. And they're heavy.
No kidding.
They're big old tube TVs is what they are. You gotta be a man to lift those puppies up.
Ones we've had over in the library there for about 30 years.
End result is gonna be great. It just, we've had to back up a little bit, and, now if for some other, they're able to find out, and everybody's got the same cinder block walls, a different way of anchoring them, great, we'll come back later on and anchor them to the walls. But as we're moving forward, we'll be ready once school starts. Middle school flood project, I already talked to you about it, it's done. Once again, a shout out to Tyler and his leadership. Between the chiller and the flood project, I don't know which is near and dear to my spleen as far as projects I dealt with throughout the year. But the leadership, we had school. And EMC is coming through because they're being friendly to us. But the middle school flood project is done. Football scoreboard looks good. And it's wind rated to whatever.
They welded it up there.
It's not going anywhere.
You know what's funny is they got that big sign there at the truck stop. It sits way up in the air and it never blows off, and we've lost 2 freaking scoreboards.
Yeah, can't speak to it. Tree line outside of the baseball field, Garrett's got a plan. We're down to just a few trees that need to be pulled, but most importantly, besides putting the new trees in, we're putting water to them. They didn't have water to them. They will in the future, so that won't be an issue moving forward. And we need to do it in phases because even the dead trees act as a windbreak, for the other trees as they're growing and for the field. So that's on its way. Replacement of irrigation line valves and well parts, Garrett can speak ad nauseum about that.
Up at the high school, we got everything up and running, valves, everything's good there. Down here at the elementary in Wiley, we got a couple valves we're replacing. They're just not holding pressure anymore. On there, we're going to replace them. That way we can also go with everything being the same as the high school. So when you go to the high school well, this well, everything's the same, runs off. We got wireless controllers that match up with the controller on there. Main line, all fixed, don't have any more of those leaks. And at the well at Wiley, we got in and got our sustaining valve and reducing valve fixed on there. So we got 100 pounds of pressure coming up from the well. It will die down at 70 pounds. If that fails, we have a kill switch at 85 pounds.
And previously, under both elementaries, it was at 100 pounds,
It was
correct?
at 100 pounds.
And if
It would
something
just
went
keep
wrong, it would have been a bad thing.
bumping. You had to run about 3 different zones on there, and that makes it really hard trying to keep everything in line when you're having to turn on so many valves. It's all set to automatic. It'll probably be done later this week on there. It's just replacing a couple valves. I've taught Matt how to do it in there, and we could get them done in about 30 minutes as long as the digging goes pretty smooth on there. Everything's hand dug.
And a key phrase there, 2 key phrases there, hand dug. We're not using backhoes because that just breaks lines. And he talked about, having Matt learning how to do things. That's vision. That's moving forward. We're looking not to outsource anything. Sometimes we have to. But, the more we can do in-house, the better off we are. Good on you, Garrett. Something I need to add here is Wheatland is laying in a new main to the high school come June 29 and 30. Basically shuts down this building for internet. But other than that, it needs to be done. Maybe Curtis, if you want to elaborate on that, any Curtis you want, but it's a proactive move.
So the primary electric into the transformer at the high school, the one down on the south side across from the greenhouse, that cable is as old as the high school. I don't know what year was the high school built. So it's kind of getting close to outliving its lifetime, and we just want to replace it during the summer before we have problems there, so.
So you're saying things that happened in 82 are outliving their lifetime? I graduated high school in 1982. Is that what you're?
It's about time for you to go.
That's part by part, baby. That's what you meant, Curtis? Thank you. So anyway, a whole slew of stuff's been going on and it's continuing, and we've not missed a beat. And thank you for Garrett's hard work and leadership on that. Any questions on it? And, goodness knows, in a couple months, I'll come back to you and say, all right, what's the next project you want? It's 1 of 2 things, frankly. Track, which is, I've worked with 3 different companies now. Everything is north of $1 million, or concession stand restrooms. And then the discussion on that is you leave it where it is to take advantage of the infrastructure or move it. I think it'd be less expensive, probably better money to keep it where it is. That's not where I want it, but that might be the right decision to where to put it. So those are the next 2 big things, besides if we do some road over here or something,
Can we go back to a dirt track?
Cinder track, baby. Glenn Cunningham went to the Olympics, running on a cinder track.
There you go.
All right. Anything else? If they're fast enough, they would. All right. That's it, Matt.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Garrett.
Sure are colorful to me.
Hey, he's color coordinated.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's move to new business and approval of republished budgets.
And this just, it should, in my opinion, simple up and down, vote by accepting the republished budget, we will receive an additional $111,790 in at-risk funding. Also, since we had enough, not fluff, but space in there, we'll also be able to receive more monies to send to SPED. So in and out, it helps them, but it doesn't come from us. And so I recommend approval of the republished budget.
Sean and Curtis. It's moved and seconded to approve the republished budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's close out FY '23.
Well, I'm asking you tonight to grant authority to the superintendent to close out the financial books for the end of the fiscal year. We've had a successful business year, and so we will be looking to roll out monies into a variety of different funds. They're listed: food service, special ed, professional learning, vocational, capital outlay, contingency. It makes sense to put money into capital outlay and contingency as much as we can, just for the very things you were talking about, Curtis, and the wind and hail event, and these other areas as well. So that is a real topic. I have fellow superintendents talking about that tonight with their boards.
Really?
Yeah. I told them that I was going to recommend your salaries be doubled. That's what I'm recommending. So, anyway, I recommend that you make the motion to allow the superintendent with his band of merry to roll out the close out the fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan Ruda and Jill.
Put band of merry in there.
Moved and seconded to give Dr. Myers the authority to close out the district financial books at the end of the 2023 fiscal operations and make the recommended transfers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. HRC board appointment.
Yes, you have one expressed interest from a patron member. Kelly Lukens has expressed interest to remain on the Holcomb Rec Commission. I recommend that she be appointed to represent USD 363.
So moved.
Second.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to approve
Kelly Lukens.
Kelly Lukens for HRC Board of Directors
For the next 4 years.
to represent USD 363. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 2023-24 food service program.
Very pleased and proud of Monica and her efforts, and she and her ladies would provide a quality service to our people, including this summer. But in order to continue doing so, the board needs to affirm participation in the 23-24 school service program. I recommend that you do so.
So moved.
Ryan Ruda and Curtis. Moved and seconded to approve the continued participation in the federal school lunch program for the 23-24 school year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Monica. She also was instrumental for after prom.
There you go.
Okay, 2023-24 meal prices.
Looking at it, we're doing well within food service world. Last year, we had a slight, 10-cent increase for kids, 15-cent increase for adults. Monica and I put our heads together, working with Mike. We recommend a 0 increase across the board for meals this next year. So request meal prices as presented for the 23-24 school year, which reflect no increase at all.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan Schreivogel and Jill. Moved and seconded to have 0 price increase on meal prices for 23-24 school year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, food service bids for 23.
We go through a bidding process each year for milk, for food and other supplies. You have them listed: Highland for milk, F&A for food, coming through the Greenbush Purchasing Co-op, food and other supplies to Cashwa. Now, this is not extant. I mean, we could go elsewhere just because these names are on here. As a matter of fact, one of my directives, Norman and Monica, are looking to the PACE group, because they do have food, as that newest purchasing co-op we joined, to potentially buy food through them as well. But in the meantime, I I recommend the board approve the recommendations to provide food products and other supplies as presented for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Curtis and Ryan Ruda. Moved and seconded to approve the recommendations providing food products and other supplies as presented for the 23-24 school year. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Handbooks.
All right, you have 8 different handbooks. For tonight, the faculty handbook, the big headliners on these, within the faculty handbook, it talks about the standards-based grading at the high school. Classified handbook, general movement I have of getting the classified staff more in line with the teachers' stuff. You have, within the classified handbook, getting things, once again, more in line with how we work within the teacher realm, specifically attending funerals of relatives or close friends, not just saying family member. Receiving advance payment, you'd already previously approved that earlier in the year, but now we put it into the handbook. Opening up the 403B to the classified staff, but to match what we do with the teachers, $25 a month. And then also matching with you already did this previously, but puts in the handbook, the early retirement benefit. So that would codify those things, but putting them in the handbook themselves. The principals are prepared to answer any questions you have. If you have any specific questions about anything else that's going on. The other big headliner is the drug testing program adjustments. As I requested, Chad met with the Coaches Council. They put their heads together and they want to maintain continued testing for nicotine. But the adjustment would be that if a student is tested as hot, then they'll be tested, and if they can get 2 months in a row clean, then their suspension from activities will drop from 90 days to 60 days. So there's grace in the program, yet there's still teeth in the program as well. So, and that's in the activity handbooks for the high school and the middle school. I recommend approval of all the various handbooks you have before you. But like I said, if you have a specific question from one of the principals about, and you've got the synopsis from the different buildings, I'm sure they're ready to entertain your questions. But the two biggies are the standards-based grading and the testing program.
I'll make the motion to accept the handbooks as proposed.
Curtis.
Second.
And Ryan Ruda. Moved and second to approve handbooks as presented for the 2023-24 school year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Executive session,
20 minutes,
20 minutes.
solid 20.
All right. Let's see, I need a motion to go into
Don't do that. Don't do that in public. That's bad.
executive session for 20 minutes, starting at, let's say, 8:10, to include Dr. Myers.
And principals as needed, we'll need to start off with Jerry.
Okay, and principals as needed.
I will make that motion.
Ryan Schreiber and Curtis. Moved and seconded to go into executive session at 8:10 for 20 minutes to include Dr. Myers and principals as needed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We are live.
We're live? All right, we're back in session. I need a motion to approve the hiring of Mandy Fritz as the high school ELA teacher for the 2023-24 school year with full experience.
So move.
Curtis,
Second.
Ryan Ruda. Moved and seconded to hire Mandy Fritz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to rehire all the classified staff.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Curtis and Jill. Moved and seconded to hire all the classified staff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Even you, Mike.
Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to approve the supplementals as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan Schreibvogel and Jill. Moved and seconded to approve all the supplementals as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to give the classified staff a 2.62% across the board raise.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan, Rita, and Jill. Moved and seconded to give classified staff a 2.62% raise across the board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to give Patty Knoll an additional $1.50 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan Shriver and Jill. Moved and seconded to give Patty Knoll a $1.50 an hour raise. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to hire Garrett Kathman as maintenance director with a $20,000 increase in salary.
So moved.
Ryan Shrivogel,
Second.
Curtis. Moved and seconded to hire Garrett as the maintenance director. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That is it.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Jill,
Second.
Ryan Shrivogel. Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
When was the last time the other executive session ended?
Please turn off your microphones.
The original motion?